Some Adidas for this one. Shalom, Mark. How you doing, Doc? You have a good tabernacles out. Shalom, Zakai Matah, Shalom, Doc. Shalom, Brother Lamar. How you doing, Doc? Shalom, Brother Moses. Battle Axe of Seattle, man. Shalom, Doc. I forgot to shoot that text. Shalom, Sister Mary Houston, House of Brother Daniel, man. Battle Axes out there in Houston. Shalom, sis, you and the fam. Y'all had a great tabernacles. I'm gonna call you too when we had what was that? Saturday night too. Shalom, Gypsy Mo. Shalom, fam. Con, that's all we can ask for too. All praises, sis. All praises. Glad brothers and sisters had a great time, and I hope they enjoyed themselves at the tabernacles. We want to make sure that we continue in that same spirit, man, that unity spirit, building upon a great tabernacles that we had, man, in the name of the Most High and the Son Yahweh Shah. Like I said, there's nothing more important than that unity that we should have in Yahweh and the Son Yahweh Shah. Let's go to the book of Psalms 133. That unity is a great, great thing, man. I told you we had a great time. Shalom, Roy King, 7607 says, good evening, sir. My father stay angry at me. What did stay angry at you for? Oh, Shalom, says lovely, Lynn. I don't know why sometimes that mug will, though. You know, if Esau be getting in there changing stuff. Even when I had was doing a TikTok, I didn't even put my name on there and it just showed up. So Shalom Zealous 372, Shalom family. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 133 and verse 1, and it reads, behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. So that's a beautiful thing, man. Shalom, Sister Genesis. How you doing, sis? I forgot to ask you about how your leg was too, sis. Say, because he mad because him and my mom don't work out. They would tell him he can't be mad at you. So you gotta put the work in, man, if you want the results. You know, you just don't get in shape by hoping. But the thing is, man, it's a beautiful thing that we have unity and that we had a beautiful unity at the tabernacles, man. We had a great time. Want to make sure that brothers and sisters continuing to build upon that same spirit, man, because remember, we're practicing a righteous rehearsal right now. You know, we can't learn to get along right now, especially brothers and sisters among specific or your fellow congregation. You know, you take that as a righteous rehearsal, then you want to make sure that guess what, you learn from that to where when Christ, Lord's will, bring us into the wilderness, we put it on a bigger scale, man. That's what these things are for, man. All praise, sis. Shalom, Shalom, Keister 1111. So a lot of people stuff done changed on her. Shalom, brother Michael. You in the fam? I didn't see you. Oh, is that who that is? Come. But you already know how it is. Sunday smoke. I know brothers and sisters been seeing what's going on in the world. Seeing the situation with Putin trying to get a peace agreement with Israel and Gaza. You know, we seeing how Sister Genesis asks, are Somalians Egyptians? That's a good question, sis. Somalians, we'll put them, Somalians would be Ethiopians. So we know Ham had 4 sons that are the progenitors of the Africans, as we know today. Let's read this right quick. Page 213, the definition of Ham. So this is the definition of Ham out of the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary. Ham, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood and one of 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes, but the Egyptians, the Ethiopians. So we know that the Somalians stem from the Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. But they all have and share the same father, which is Ham. But those are basically 2 different tribes, Egyptians and Ethiopians. So Somalians will fall up on the Ethiopians. So no, sis. I know Ox said most or rest are mixed in with Israelites. Who? Somalians? Who are you talking about, Ox? Because even when, now we know they mixed amongst each other, but remember the Most High God, they are all Africans, but remember it's different tribes of Africans. And all of Africans stem from those 4 groups: the Canaanites, the Egyptians, the Ethiopians, and the Libyans. Out of those 4 sons of Ham stem all the tribes of Ham. But even going back to what we were saying, we see Trump, he trying to do the peace agreement. We know that these things might happen, but these things eventually won't last, brothers and sisters. Why? Because the end is manifest. The end is manifest, and guess what? The Most High God is causing spirits out here to be stirred up to bring about World War III. This is the book of 2 Ezra, chapter 9 and verse number 1, and it reads, He answered me then and said, Measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before. We done seen part of the signs pass, like Christ warned us about what? Famines, pestilence, wars, and rumors of wars. We seeing parts of these things happen. We seeing it with Russia, Ukraine. We seeing it with all type of turmoil over there in the Middle East. We seeing it with certain pestilence that done happen. We seeing it with certain famines that's happening in the southern South Americas and partially here in the Americas. Because think about it, famines is basically a part of when they're rising the prices on the foods. And we know that the prices on the foods have steadily been climbing ever since Trump been trying to institute these tariffs. We see the effects on how the Most High God is putting this thing in motion. Verse 2, Then shalt thou understand, it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. And we see how the Most High God is visiting the earth. He's visiting the earth by sending his angels out to do what? To do his will, to work on the minds of the powers that be, to turn them towards World War III. And it's inevitable. These things are going to happen, brothers and sisters, whether we want them to or not. So it's pivotal that brothers and sisters get their spirit right. Brothers and sisters strive to keep the commandments while having faith in Yahushua. It's pivotal of these things, man. It says, verse 3, therefore, when thou shalt be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, and we seeing these things right now, seeing uproars of the people in the world. We seeing that, guess we're in the second week of a government shutdown. Think about it. I know this journalist, Joy Reid, I watch her sometimes. She's pretty good. She was saying that, and we know that Republicans control the House. They're in charge of everything. They're getting everything that they want, but it's still a government shutdown. Come on, man. Think about that. That's the Most High, brothers and sisters, man, causing division amongst themselves. They ruling everything, man, and it's still not enough. That's why the scriptures say that Esau can never have enough, man. It says, verse 4, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. Like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. So we're at the beginning stages of the manifestation of the end of the world, man. And like Ox said, greed will be their downfall, man. Ultimately, it is. Shalom, Blacksmith 32, 36. Shalom, Demirs Rashan. Shalom, Ramonica Wade. Shalom, Shalom. Shalom, the brothers and sisters that I miss. So these things are being revealed. Zakar Mantai said, Khan, they trying to get those chariot technology to get past the firmament. Yeah, they trying out, but remember, they ain't gonna be able to get hold of no chariots technology, man. That's godly technology, chariots of the Most High. Remember these things. Shalom, brother Ray. I thought I seen you up in there. Shalom, brother Ray. Battle X is Minnesota. Shalom, how's your how your rehab coming, Hit me in the chat, man. How your rehab coming along? Shalom, shalom, brother Abraham. How you doing, Yeah, they're gonna fail miserably, Most High God is gonna destroy them without hand, man, like it says in the book of Isaiah. Matter of fact, let's get that. They are not going to able. That technology, man, is on a whole nother level. Think about it, man. The chariots, they can fly in mountains. They can go in water. They can split up. Think about it. When they tried to shoot that chariot down, it split into like 3 more parts. And it still kept flying. It was a direct hit. And it still kept flying. That have them in an uproar right there. They got CIA scrambling on what to do, trying to make technology that can try to bring down the chariots of the Most High. But hey, it's not gonna happen, man. It's not gonna happen at all. So, and this is the power that we serve. Think about it, man. That's a glorious thing. This is the power of the Most High. Matter of fact, let's see if we could find that account in Maccabees. Let's get an account of that real quick. Who knows where that precept is? Let's get an account. Because even during the time of the Maccabees, the Most High God sent these chariots out. And they fight for us. Bear with me. Get my other apocrypha. The chariots of the Most High fights for us. Defense and shields, not so much comfortable. Good words were told them. Not that one. fled and shut up that town. Second Maccabees chapter solely for money. Put to flight. No, it's on this side. I read it in a while. Oh, I got it. This is the book of Second Maccabees, chapter 5. So we know that the chariots are known to be to fight for us, giving word from the Most High. This is the book of Second Maccabees, chapter 5 and verse number 2, and it reads, about the same time Antiochus prepared his second voyage into Egypt, and then it happened that through all the city, for the space almost of 40 days, there were seen horsemen running in the air. Now remember, they're using the words that they can best describe this phenomenon that they see. So they compared it to horsemen running in the air. And this is what we know as the chariots of the Most High. It says, clothed in gold and armed with lances, like a band of soldiers, because we know that the angels pilot these so-called UFOs or chariots of the Most High. Verse number 3, and troops of horsemen in array, encountering and running one against another, with shaking of shields and multitudes of spikes and drawing of swords and casting of darts and glittering of golden ornaments and harness of all sorts. Wherefore every man prayed that apparition might turn to good, because we know that they fight for us, and the Most High God send the chariots of the Most High in a time of protection. Think about it. What was following us when we came out of Egypt? To give us day, to give us light by night, and to be a guide during the daytime, to give us shade during the daytime. Think about these things when we read the book of Exodus. Chariots was always around. Verse 4, wherefore every man prayed that the apparition might turn to good. Now, when there was going forth a false rumor, as though Antiochus had been dead, Jason took at the least 8,000 men, and subtly made an assault upon the city. And they that were upon the walls being put back, and the city at length taken, Menelaus fled into the council. But Jason slew his own citizens without mercy, because we knew it's always going to be haters of their own people, people that hate their own nation. And Jason was wicked as hell. Him and Alchemist, you have other brothers, even brothers today, have that same particular type of spirit, like Officer Jason Tatum. You have many others out there, like Thurgood, what's his name? The Supreme Court Justice. You always have people that have hated their own people just to seek power and privilege among Esau. It says, but Jason slew his own citizens without mercy, not considering that to get the day of them of his own nation would be a most unhappy day for him, but thinking they had been his enemies and not his countrymen whom he had conquered. So we see that the Most High God have always sent chariots to fight for us in a time of need. Even when you read on back and forth, we've seen Judas Maccabees. He had a sight of these things, so it's not going to be anything different in these last days. I know brothers and sisters been seeing them. Brothers and sisters probably saw them out at the tabernacles, but it's nothing that they can do about these things, man. Nothing at all. I know I put in there 2nd Ezra chapter 13 and verse 9 and 10, a great one, going into the second arrival of Christ and how it's going to be when he touched down on the earth. Clarence Thomas, thanks, Brother Moses. Clarence Thomas. So we see how these the chariots of the Most High fight on our behalf, man. Even during the time of the Assyrians. Let me try to get that account. The Most High God sent an angel to basically tear the Assyrians up, man. Make sure y'all write those things down too. Like I say, Shalom, Officer Donovan. Got Officer Donovan in the chat, man. Shalom, Mark. You know, Bruce, Miss Bruce out there, him and Ezekiel Yah. Bruce out there, man. Yes. The book of Sirach, Book of Sirach, chapter 48 and verse number 8. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 48 and verse 8, and it reads, who anointeth kings to take revenge and prophets to succeed after them, who was taken up in a whirlwind of fire, in a chariot of fiery horses. So we see even at this time is going through history, and he's showing how Elisha at that time was taken up, even how Elijah was seen with a chariots and horses surrounding him to blind the men that was trying to come against him. You know, there's some great history showing how the chariots was always around us, man, protecting us, guiding us, you know. Let me get that too in 1 Kings chapter 19 and 15. Make sure y'all linking these precepts up. So like your 2 Kings chapter 2 verse 11. That's another. I want the one with Sennacherib. We'll get this one first though. It's the book of 2 Kings chapter 2 and verse 11, and it reads, and it came to pass as they went on and talked that there appeared a chariot of fire and horses of fire, and parted them both asunder. And Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. So we see where the Most High God sent a chariot to call up Elijah into heaven. Then when you flip over to 2 Kings chapter 6 and verse 18, start up at verse 17, and it reads, and Elisha prayed and said, Lord, I pray thee, open his eyes that he may see. And the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire round about Elisha. So we have always had angels' presence around us, thanks God, to give us protection, man. Always, man. I know brother Mike is asking, what's the best way to combat Ephesians chapter 2? Let's get there right quick. The best way to combat any epistle is to do what? Start at the beginning. It's pivotal for brothers to understand the context and who the audience it is that Paul is writing to. So like how we teach brothers, we teach them to always do what? Start with the context. And the context lets you know who the audience is. So this is the book of Ephesians, chapter 1 and verse number 1. And it reads, Paul, an apostle of Jesus Christ by the will of God, to the saints which are at Ephesus, and to the faithful in Yahushua Christ. So Paul is letting you know who this letter is addressed to. We know that the saints are only the children of Israel. Psalms 50 and 5, Psalms 148, verse 14, and various other precepts. Only saints of the Most High are the Israelites. So this is where you would always start. Always start here. Once you start there, then the context continues. Then you can do what? Jump over to chapter 2 and verse 8. This is the book of Ephesians, chapter 2 and verse number 8. And it reads, for by grace are ye saved through faith, and that not of yourselves. It is the gift of God. So when you're dealing with this, letting you know that the book of Ephesians is written to the Israelites that were scattered in Ephesus, we know that guess what? Grace was given unto us. Then you want to do what? Go to your grace precepts. Precepts like what? Titus chapter 2, verse 11. So you want to deal with it one word at a time, pulling out the main words that are in the verse, because that's what Christians are going to harp on, grace. They think in their minds and in their spirit that grace is a license to do what? To break God's laws. But no, the Bible defines what grace is. This is the book of Titus, chapter 2 and verse 11, and it reads, "For the grace of God that bringeth salvation had appeared to all men, teaching us." So it's letting you know that grace teaches us something, teaching us that denying ungodliness, grace teaches us to deny ungodliness. It's a time to get yourself right, not a time to keep continuing in sin. Teaching us that denying ungodliness and worldly lust, we should live soberly, righteously, and godly in this present world. So you want to make sure that you go to your grace precepts. Let's get another one. Let's go to the book of Romans, chapter 6, verse 1. 2 or 3 witnesses. This is the book of Romans, chapter 6, verse 1. "What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? God forbid. How shall we that are dead to sin live any longer therein?" So Paul addresses these things previously in other books, that just because we have grace doesn't give you a license to sin. Jump down to verse 14. "For sin shall not have dominion over you, for ye are not under the law, but under grace." Now, what does this mean? We're not under the law of animal sacrifice and up under the law of sin and death, meaning if we commit sin, we're not judged immediately for those things. The Most High God is doing what? Giving us an opportunity to repent with that grace that we have, and then turn back to the laws, statutes, and commandments, and not commit that sin anymore. So these are a couple of verses that you want to always have in your bag. You want to always pick out the key words, man. Always. Let's go back to the book of Ephesians. It's always key words in the scriptures that let you know on how to deal with it. It's the book of Ephesians, chapter 2 and verse number 8, and it reads, "For by grace are you saved through faith." And we know that faith is what? Things hoped for, things that are not seen. Because we have to have grace. We have to have grace, and we have to have faith that the Most High God is going to do that which he said in the scriptures. We also have to have faith. Go back to Romans chapter 3, verse 31. This is the book of Romans, chapter 3 and verse 31, and it reads, "Do we then make void the law through faith?" So just because we have faith, do we not have to keep the law? God forbid. Yea, we establish the law. But Christians try to say that too. Oh, I have grace and faith, that they think it excludes them from still having to keep the law. So these are precepts that you need to have to understand that just because we're commanded to have grace and faith still doesn't negate us from keeping the laws of the Most High. I'm going to read it again. "For by grace are ye saved through faith, and not of yourselves. It is the gift of God." Because it is a gift of God, because we know that we can go off at any time. All we're doing is praying to the Most High God that he gives us that grace, that we're doing just enough to be able to make it to the kingdom. We're doing just enough. But we have to follow those specific conditions even to get in the hunt, which is having faith in Christ and keeping the commandments. It's the same thing that Christ always said, man. Verse number 9, "Not of works, lest any man should boast." Because ultimately, the things that we do, we are nothing but filthy rags unto the Most High. We're nothing but filthy rags. So we need that grace to suffice us to be able to make it to the kingdom, man. And also going into what? The law of animal sacrifice. Meaning it's not an animal that you could sacrifice to atone for your sins, now that Christ was the what? The ultimate sacrifice. So you want to make sure that you home in those 2 points, give precepts on faith And also give precepts on what? On grace. Showing people what those things are. And it's not going against the laws of the Most High. Come, brothers putting the precepts in the chat, man. Khan, and behold, they were all dead corpses. Khan, that's the one I was looking for. 2 Kings chapter 19, verse 35. And it came to pass that night that the angel of the Lord went out and smote in the camp of the Assyrians 185,000. And when they arose early in the morning, behold, they were all dead corpses. It says that was Sirach 48. What? Hold on. You got the Sirach 48 with that too. Yeah, Khan. Just going into the chariots of the Most High. Khan. Shalom, Shalom, 12, jump 21. Shalom, Mark. Khan. Officer Don put it up in the chat. Revelation chapter 22, verse 14. Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life and may enter in through the gates of the city. That's plain, man. Shalom, Officer E. Hood in the building, man. Shalom to you officers and soldiers, brothers and sisters that are in the chat. Great precept. 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 6. And it reads, for though I would desire to glory, I shall not be a fool, for I will say the truth. But now I forbear, lest any man should think of me above that which he seeth me to be, or that he hear it. No, Brother Lamar put in our Revelation chapter 11. It says, and they heard a loud voice from heaven saying to them, come up here. And they ascended into heaven in a cloud, and their enemies saw them come. Great precept, Brother Lamar. It says, what was verses for both of them, bro? Which one? Shalom, Shalom, Corey Davenport. Shalom. Brothers that's tuning in, man. It says Paul had the same spirit. That's why he said the glory of those infirmities and not in his works. That's Khan. You end up saying your grace is sufficient for thee, Khan. And that's all that we can give. That's why we tell brothers and sisters we're practicing a righteous rehearsal. Yeah, the second Maccabees was second Maccabees chapter 4. No, chapter 5, Salakia. Book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 5, verses 1 through 3. That's the point of that. How the Most High God was sending out the angels. That precepts with the book of Sirach, chapter 48 and verse 8 on down. Oh, this Barakai. I don't know why it's showing y'all Officer Barakai. Shalom, Mike. How you feeling, man? Shalom, sister Adiva. How you doing, sis? House of Officer E. Hood. I don't know why it didn't change our names on here. That's crazy. Since Genesis put Psalms chapter 104 and 32, he toucheth the hills and they smoke. Is this a volcano? Let's get that right quick. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 104 and verse. We'll start at verse number 1, because when you read and understand the chapter, this is going into the marvelous creations of the Most High. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 104. We'll start at verse 1. And it reads, bless the Lord, O my soul, O Lord my God, thou art very great. Thou art clothed with honor and majesty, who coverest thyself with light as with a garment, who stretcheth out the heavens like a curtain, who layeth the beams of his chambers in the waters, who maketh the clouds his chariots, who walketh upon the wings of the wind, who maketh his angel spirits his ministers a flaming fire. Verse 5, who laid the foundations of the earth, and it should not be removed forever. So when you read the book of Psalms, chapter 104, this is just going into the marvelous creations of the Most High. Now let's jump down. Start at verse 31. Verse 31. The glory of the Lord shall endure forever. The Lord shall rejoice in his works. He looketh on the earth, and it trembled. He toucheth the hills, and they smoke. I will sing unto the Lord as long as I live. I will sing praise to my God while I have my being. So sis was asking, is this going into volcanoes? Let me read it again. It's the book of Psalms, chapter 104 and verse number 32. He looketh on the earth, and it trembled. He toucheth the hills, and they smoke. Now, one could say, that's not a bad exegesis of that, sis, going into what you may say a volcano. Let's go to Sirach. This is what I want. Let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 43 and verse number 2. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 43 and verse number 2, and it reads, the sun, when it appeareth, declaring at his rising, a marvelous instrument, the work of the Most High. At noon it parcheth the country, and who can abide the burning heat thereof? A man blowing a furnace is in works of heat, but the sun burneth the mountains 3 times more, breathing out fiery vapors and sending forth bright beams. It dimmeth the eyes. So we know that through our precepts, that's how we get the understanding. So we know that it's making reference to how the Most High God created the sun. And we know when the sun is at its highest in the noonday, that it burneth and parcheth the mountains. But we also know Job chapter 11 and verse 6, and that's not a bad point, sis, going into the volcanoes, that ain't a bad point at all, sis. Really study said, how from off can an individual before they are going off? If we understand we are practicing righteous rehearsal. Reword that, I didn't understand that. Brother Michael, put it back in the chat. Oh, Sister Adiva, let me know. We had to change the handle in the settings. I had to fix mine, sis. Brother Lamar said, behold, he is coming with clouds, and every eye will see him, even who pierced him. That's right. And all the tribes of the earth will mourn because of him. Even so, our man come. Great precept, man. Cheerleaders, Shalom, pray for me. My skin feels like crap right now. Eczema. Con, sis. Jenna. Shalom, Sister Jenna. How you doing, sis? We'll most definitely throw some prayers for you, sis. I don't know. I asked my wife. I think she's in there laying down, but she know about some things about eczema, some creams that you can kind of put on. Brother Moses put in the chat, Job chapter 11 and verse 6, and that he will show thee the secrets of wisdom, that they are double to that which is. Know therefore that God exacted of thee less than thy iniquity deserveth. Shalom, brother Azariah. Shalom, Ak. How you doing? You and the fam. But yeah, that is a good question, Sister Genesis. It says, how far can somebody go off before practicing righteous rehearsal? Is just not the case. Well, no one really knows that. Only the Most High, I can't answer that because the thing is, everybody's grace is different. Grace is measured. So everybody has a different measurement of grace. Most High God are partial to certain spirits. So he may let this spirit get away with a little bit more than that spirit. So Shalom, Sister Danielle. How you doing, sis? But we have to always keep that in mind, that grace is measured. So we can't determine that, and the thing is, Why would anybody want to play with the Most High like that anyway? You know what I'm saying? It's pivotal that brothers and sisters don't play with the Most High. Let's go to the book of Ephesians. Because grace is measured. You never know where you stand with the Most High. You may do something, and guess what? The Most High God may judge you immediately on that thing. Or he gives brothers and sisters a little bit more time. So, but the thing is, we don't know where we at with those standings. Shalom, shalom, sis. You too as well, sis. How was y'all's tabernacles? Put in the chat, how was brothers and sisters tabernacles too, right quick. Let's go to the book of Ephesians chapter 4, verse 7. This is the book of Ephesians chapter 4, verse 7. And this is going into the gifts of Christ. It says, but unto every one of us is given grace according to the measure of the gift of Christ. So grace is measured. You never know where you stand in your grace with the Most High. So it's pivotal that you cannot play games when it comes to being truthful and sincere in this truth, man. You know, we can't play the games, man, because we don't know how much time we got. We don't know when the Most High God could exact that judgment on that sin that you done committed. You know, even like it says in the book of Ecclesiastes, just because judgment against a sentence is not executed speedily, people are fully set in their ways. So you have to be careful about those things, man. Careful as hell. Sister Adva says she definitely enjoyed tabernacles. All praise to the Most High. Like Officer Donovan said, no servant can serve two masters. For either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon. Revelations 3:15. I know thy works, that thou art neither cold nor hot. I would thou were cold or hot. So then, because thou art lukewarm and neither cold nor hot, I will spew thee out of thy mouth. So Christ is saying you're gonna have to pick a side. You know, either be all the way for me or be all the way against me. There's no middle ground. There's no lukewarm. Con, Brother Moore said Hills was fine. Family picking on me about it as usual. Con, but hey, that's what we. That's persecuted for this truth, man. Really study. Brother Michael said, that's me. The Most High get me soon as I turn the corner. Hey, and that's the thing. But even like the bruise tripping in, shalom, shalom. Even like the bruise brought out, man. Hebrews chapter 12, and verse number 1, number 6. Brother brought this out yesterday. This is the book of Hebrews, chapter 12, and verse number 5, and it reads, and ye have forgotten the exhortation which speaketh unto you as unto children. My son, despise not the chastening of the Lord, nor faint when thou art rebuked of him. For whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth, and scourgeth every son whom he received. So you have to think about these things, man, and these are things you have to weigh in the balance. Think about it. If the Most High God is not judging you, or you're not getting jacked up for the wickedness that you are doing, you have to see if you really are a son of the Most High. Then, too, if you are getting jacked up and you truly are a son, the Most High God is going to chasten you, man. He's going to bring judgment on you to get you to understand the error of your ways and ultimately get you to wake up and repent of your sins, man. You know, so we have to endure that chastisement. Verse 7, if you endure chastening, God dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? But if ye be without chastisement, whereof you are all partakers, and then ye are bastards and not sons. So you have to be mindful of those things, man. It says, can we precept that with Romans chapter 12, verse 3? Which one? I put it, yeah, it is. It really is. Ignorant is bliss, man. Brother Moses says, 2 Thessalonians 2:10, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they believe not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. Officer Donovan puts Sirach chapter 7, verse 8, bind not one sin upon another, For in one thou shalt not be unpunished. Say not, God will look upon the multitude of my oblations. And when I offer to the Most High, he will accept it. Don't think that you're getting away scot-free from those sins. Excuse me. Don't think that you're getting away scot-free from those sins, man. That's a great precept. Brothers and sisters, make sure y'all put that in y'all arsenal that Officer Donovan put out there, man. Yeah, put that one back in the chat. Sister Genesis said, it was so pleasant to see everyone rehearsing the righteous acts and not coming for folly sis. That's exactly right. That's a great, great thing, man. Like you said, ain't no great thing that brothers and sisters in the spirit out there helping one another put up tents. Like we said, but we needed a whole camp on Captain Yari tent. Boy, I got a hell of a tent. But it ain't really that bad. You just need a lot of brothers to help with that mug, man. He got them tents. So if brothers and sisters are well familiar with tabernacles, you got maybe 3 types of tent. You got the easy tent, the pop-up tent, man. You just pop that thing up. And that's a tent that I would, hey, brothers and sisters, get a pop-up tent, man. It saves you a ton of time. Then secondly, you got the tent to where you have to put the liners through. Either they crisscross or they go over the sides and over the middle. Then you have the one where you color coordinate the poles, like Captain Yar and Sister Anetta. But brothers done got so accustomed to putting up Sister Anetta's that it's much more easy. But Captain Yar is a little bit more harder. You just need to get a lot of people. But once brothers got the color coordinations down, it came together, so. But yeah, it was a beautiful thing. Sister Mary, he said, all praise, we had a great time camping in the backyard. We did the whole 4 days outside, and the weather was great. Con. It says you were talking about how the Most High give everybody different levels of grace. Con, I'm wondering if we can precept that with Romans chapter 12. Let's get that right quick. The book of Romans chapter 12. Yeah, con. That's a great thing when unity comes together to put that tent up. This is the book of Romans, chapter 12, and verse 3, and it reads, for I say, through the grace given unto me, to every man that is among you, not to think of himself more highly that he ought to think, but to think soberly as according as God had dealt to every man the measure of faith. Yes, that is the precept that goes to that. Make sure that brothers and sisters put that precept down with Ephesians chapter 4, verses what was that, 7? Go back. Yes. Ephesians chapter 4 verse 7 precepts with Romans chapter 12 verse 3. That is the precept, Ox. So con on that. Even myself write these things. I'm right in my Bible. We take notes. Don't think that, like we say, officers don't take notes. You have about 3 or 4 Bibles. You want to get all those things precept. So make sure that y'all write those things down. That is the precept for that. Make sure y'all write it down. Yeah, we did, man. I ain't gonna lie. We miss Sister Mary Houston. I'm with you on that. We miss the family out there, man. We're throwing up the prayers for y'all, man. But it didn't feel quite the same not having them out there, though. You know what I'm saying? Junior Ox, Sis, and especially Brother Daniel, man. It did kind of hit. I'm gonna tell you, it kind of hit hard. I know me and my wife was talking about it. That thing hit kind of hard, because we always stop at the Whataburgers before we meet up. Well, we meet up at the Whataburgers, and not seeing y'all there. That thing really kind of hit home. I can't even lie. Brother get a little choked up. We like, dang, so it made brothers and sisters feel some type of way. But we always got our memory, man, especially through y'all. So prayers still going out, to Sister Mary Houston, house of Brother Daniel, for the loss of our brother. But hey, Like we always say, the dead in Christ rise first. It says, Jose gave me one last tabernacle. I let my brother use it for the trip. Oh, damn. Yeah, that's why you can't. Got to keep that for yourself. I know. And a lot of times I know we have such a great spirit a lot of times, but people take that kindness and just squander it away, man. Because we really do use our tents. And I'm going to tell y'all, man, these things ain't just for, think about it, the tabernacles. Because, hey, Jacob's trouble get on her, man. You have to take them tents, man, and set up a stationary tabernacle out there in the wilderness for real, man. Never just know how these things be, but we leave it in the hands of the Most High to keep us under his protection if we keeping the commandments and having faith in his son, man. So yeah, he did. Con. Officer Dunn says, Sirach chapter 11 and verse 28, judge none blessed before his death, for a man shall be known in his children. That is a mighty verse that can be known in Ox children, Because Ox did have a mighty family, especially with the junior Ox. So. But I pray that brothers and sisters had a great time. Like we say, we got new moon tomorrow night. New moon tomorrow night. So remember, after brothers and sisters get off from work, make sure that you get gas, buy what you need to buy, because it's what? No buying, no selling from Monday night to Tuesday night. No buying and selling from Monday night to Tuesday night. So I want brothers and sisters to be up on that. We will be up in the building. Shalom servant. It says Shalom cap is Isaiah 30 verse 1, a precept to Genesis chapter 3 verse 7. Let's check it out right quick. Let's go to the book of Isaiah chapter 30 verse 1. This is the book of Isaiah chapter 30 and verse 1. This is going into woe unto Judah. Most High God bringing judgment to Judah. The book of Isaiah chapter 30 and verse 1, and it reads, woe to the rebellious children, saith the Lord, that take counsel, but not of me, and that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin. Now let's go to the book of Genesis chapter 3 verse 7. So I know the point that I want out of that is a covering. It's the book of Genesis chapter 3 and verse number 7, and it reads, and the eyes of them both were open, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. So yes, this is a precept for that, because the covering that we should cover ourselves with is the covering of the Lord. During this time, Adam and Eve, they went off into sin, and they was trying to cover themselves by their own. But no, we have to be covered by the covering which the Lord gives. That's why he instituted what? The sacrificial law in the book of Genesis chapter 3 verse 7. They was trying to sew fig leaves and aprons. Think about it. An apron is only half of a covering. It's not a full covering, but with the Most High, you have a full covering. That's why he instituted the law of animal sacrifice. So yes, that's a great precept for that. A great precept. Do brothers and sisters understand that? I want to see if you could. But yeah, you can put that for that, con. It says, though his father died, yet he as though he were not dead, for he had left one behind him that is like himself. Con. Great precept as well. So Sirach chapter 30, verse 4. Because a brother, a man is known in his children, like I put in the chat. Really Study said, what is the best way to combat Revelation chapter 7 and verse 9? Do we just understand that this is future tense, talking about the kingdom, where the other nations will be with us in submission? So that's a great point. Remember, we touch on these things all the time. So the main point that you want out of there is multitude. They think because it says multitude that sets aside it being different from the children of Israel. This is the book of Revelations, chapter 7 and verse 9, and it reads, After this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed in white robes and palms in their hand. So a lot of times Christians try to attribute this to the other nations. They say, look, Revelation chapter 7, verses 4 through 5 or 4 through 9 is going into the Israelites. So you mean to tell me it's just going to only be 144,000 Israelites? No. The 144,000 Israelites just going into the governing body. But it's also going to be another multitude of people, a mixed multitude made up of men, women, and children. Because wow, we're like the sand of the sea. So this is where you go to what? Second Ezra. And all this is doing is expounding upon what Second Ezra went into. Go to the book of Second Ezra, chapter 2. Let's see who that multitude was. This is the book of Second Ezra, chapter 2 and verse 38, and it reads, Arise up and stand, and behold the number of those that be sealed in the feast of the Lord, which are departed from the shadow of the world, and have received glorious garments of the Lord. Verse 40, Take thy number, O Zion, and shut up those that are clothed in white. We literally just read this. Clothed in white in Revelation chapter 7, verse 9. It tells you who this mixed multitude is. Let's keep reading. Which have fulfilled the law of the Lord. Now, how can it be then when they say that God's laws are done away with? This right here is affirming that, for one, it's the children of Israel, people of Zion, and secondly, it's talking about those that have fulfilled the law. Verse 41, the number of thy children whom thou longest for is fulfilled. Beseech the power of the Lord that thy people, which have been called from the beginning, may be hallowed. I, Ezra, saw upon the Mount Zion a great people, whom I could not number, and they all praised the Lord with songs. So we literally just read this in the book of what? Revelation chapter 7. Let's get more. Let's flip over. See who that multitude is referred to. It's the book of Second Ezra, chapter 1 and verse. Second Ezra, chapter 3 and verse 16. Because all you have to do is just read this in context. It shows you. That's why precept upon precept is very pivotal in this walk, man. Very. Because it bridges in the gaps. There's the book of Second Ezra, chapter 3, verse 16, and it reads, And unto him thou gavest Isaac, and unto Isaac thou gavest Jacob and Esau. As for Jacob, thou didst choose him to thee, Salakia, and put by Esau, meaning he passed up Esau. And so Jacob became a great multitude. So Christians, because they don't read the Old Testament and they don't read the Apocrypha, they don't know that, guess what? Israel is a great multitude that was scattered amongst these other nations. They don't know these things, man. And these things as plain as can be. They do not know these things. Let's go to the book of Genesis. It's the book of Genesis, chapter 28 and verse number 3. And it reads, And God Almighty bless thee and make thee fruitful and multiply thee, that thou mayest be a multitude of people. So Israel in itself is a great multitude of people. Those are 3 precepts that brothers need when you are combating or getting a full understanding of Revelation chapter 7 and verse 9. You need those precepts. Make sure y'all write those things down, man. Take good notes, man. You understand that? So yes, it is future tense, but it has nothing to do with the other nations. That great multitude is only talking about Israel. You understand it? Give me some feedback on that, Brother Michael. Yeah, Khan, no, his spirit is around Khan, sis. Soldier Ezra said, "God, devils out here. Dude jumped out in front of me and hit his dang brakes. I hit him and he took out crazy work. Dang, we gonna throw those prayers up for you, man. I'll call you after class. Cause the water I don't. So would you say that Adam and Eve worship an idol because of yes, they worship an idol. It tells you plainly in Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14, verse 12. It tells you that was the beginning of spiritual fornication. So yes, it tells you plainly. Now people can say about the stars and the moon, but the Bible doesn't say specifically what it was, so we don't want to add or take away. This is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14 and verse number 12. And it reads, "For the devising of idols was the beginning of spiritual fornication, and the invention of them is the corruption of life." Jump over to verse 27. "For the worshiping of idols, not to be named, is the beginning, the cause, and the end of all evil." So it tells us plainly, yes. And we could say that knowledge that she got from Satan, from those wicked nations at that time, they turned it into idolatry, and that's basically what they did because they put that knowledge above the knowledge that the Most High God had already given them, so yes, make sure you add verse 27 with verse number 12 as well. Abraham said he doesn't get the explanation of Isaiah 30. Remember in Isaiah chapter 30, verse 1, we cover what they cover. What are we supposed to be covered with? We're supposed to be covered with the laws of the Most High, and with grace. When we go off as a nation of people, the Most High God has given us grace to cover us, to be an atonement for our sins. When you read in the book of Genesis chapter 3, verse 7, they were trying to cover themselves. We can't cover ourselves. We need a covering from the Most High. That is the point of that. So let's go back to Genesis chapter 3, verse 7. This is the book of Genesis chapter 3, verse 7. When you start up at verse 6, this is going into the fall of Adam. How did Adam fall? By breaking the commandments of the Most High to kind of set the tone. This is the book of Genesis chapter 3, verse 6, and it reads, "And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise." We know that trees don't make people wise. Knowledge makes people wise. So she took of the knowledge of these other nations and she ate of it, meaning she learned of it. That's what it means. It says, and she took of the fruit thereof, meaning the things that she learned, she put those things into practice. Fruit is always going into what? Your works. It says, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. So not only did she learn it, she brought it back and taught it to Adam. So they both learned wickedness, things that the Most High God commanded them not to learn. Like for us, the Most High God gives us straight commandments on things that we can and cannot do. Verse number 7, "And the eyes of them were both open, and they knew that they were naked." They knew, like we say, that they had committed sin. But remember, during this time, we were never supposed to know sin. The Most High God made us to be what? Immortal, like it says in the book of Wisdom of Solomon. Not to know sin, not to be able to act these things out. We're supposed to be righteous from the beginning. But by them going out seeking of the knowledge that the Most High God told them not to do, it caused the fall of man. Verse number 7 again from the top. And the eyes of them both were open, and they knew that they were naked, meaning they knew that they were in sin, according to what? Exodus chapter 32, verse 28. Let's keep reading. And they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves apron. Why? Because they was trying to spiritually clothe themselves. Think about it. An apron is something that you cover yourself with so that you don't get dirty while you're cooking. This is all spiritual. This is not literal. And I know this is the point where brothers kind of get, this is spiritual, this is not literal. Aprons, a covering, is us being compared to what? Giving grace or the animal sacrifice to atone for our sins. So this is all hip talk. An apron only covers half of you. But with the Most High, when you have a covering from him, you have a full covering. That's why you can precept that with with Isaiah chapter 30 and verse 1. You understand that? Verse 7 again from the top. And the eyes of them both were open, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. Because Christianity teaches that Adam and Eve was literally walking around naked. No, that is not the case. That did not happen, man. Adam was a god on the planet. How in the hell he didn't know about clothes when it was his job to teach the world God's laws, statutes, and commandments? It makes no sense. One of the laws is thou shalt not show thy nakedness. So, come on, man. So this is all spiritual. This is deep spiritual hip talk. That's all that it is. So when you go back to the book of Isaiah, chapter 30 and verse 1, oh, now let's keep reading. Let me read on down. Verse 11. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 3, verse 11. And he said, who told thee that thou was naked? Hast thou eaten of the tree whereof I commanded thee that thou shouldest not eat? And the man said, the woman whom thou gavest to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat. So Adam was blaming Eve, not standing up, being a man. It was his job to lead and not take of that and correct her. But guess what? He fell up on a presumptuous sin, meaning he knew to do good and he didn't do it. Let's jump down. What do I want? Verse 21 is the point. The book of Genesis, chapter 3, verse 21, and it reads, and unto Adam also and to his wife did the Lord God make coats of skin and clothe them. Clothes do what? Cover us. So this is hip talk for the Most High God doing what? Giving them or instituting the law of animal sacrifice. Why? So they could atone for the sins that they just committed earlier in the chapter. And this is that covering that we needs to be covered with when it comes to the Most High. Isaiah chapter 30. The book of Isaiah chapter 30 and verse 1. Woe to the rebellious children, saith the Lord, that take counsel, but not of me, and that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit. See, our people want to be covered with Christianity. Our people want to be covered with Islam. We was just dealing with the brothers out there last night. What was they coming with? I'm knowing that dark-skinned brother, that brother was Israelite. He could kind of read the spirit on. Our people want to go into everything but the true knowledge of the Most High. Want to be covered with everything but with the knowledge of the Most High. Then the other brother, he want to go into these different doctrines that don't profit him nothing. That's not going to give him a complete covering. This is all that this is going into. We want to be occupied in doctrines that mean us no good and that can't profit us a damn thing. Verse 1 again from the top. Woe to the rebellious children, saith the Lord, that take counsel, but not of me, and that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit. Because what is the spirit? John 6:63, the words of the Most High. We want to be covered with what? The Mishnah. We want to be covered with the epics of Gilgamesh. We want to be covered with the Book of the Dead, Egyptology, but we don't want to be covered with the spirit of the Most High, which is this Bible, man, which is the word. It says that they may add sin to sin. And that's ultimately what Adam and Eve did. You know, that's how sin was brought about, because they wanted to cover themselves and not have the covering of the Most High. You understand it, Doc? Con, that's another great precept Officer Donovan put up in there, 2 Ezra 5 and 27 for multitude. Really study said, then just when a Christian emphasizes the all, we understand that all doesn't always mean all. Yes, remember, and that's very simple. All has a context. All has a context. So you have to always lead with the precepts and then be able to break those things down. You know, like how we read in the book of Titus, chapter 2, verse 11, that it says grace had appeared to all men. Who is the all men? Read up in context on who the book of Titus was written to. That tells you who all the men were. Or in any context. He's talking about when you having a conversation among you and a group of people. To all you people right here. So does that mean that it's talking about the people that's not with us? No. All has a context. And that's something that brothers have to always remember when breaking down certain scriptures that has the word all in it. It has a context. Judah chapter 5, verse 10. Like I said, there were clothes just used in parables. That's it. Illustrated stories. It says that's how you know Esau and them perverted in a mug, believe Adam and Eve. That's right. Walking around bucket naked. For real. It says Zakob Manti. It says when that one prophet was commanded to walk around naked to show how bad of a famine Israel would go through. No, that was literal right there. Yes. Going into Isaiah. He had to walk around naked for a certain amount of time, symbolizing how Israel was going to be taken into captivity under the Assyrians naked as well. You know, the Assyrian captivity was a hard captivity for the northern tribe, and some of southern tribe I'm pretty sure was taken with them, but not us as a whole. So yes, that was literal. And that's the point that brothers must pray for. You have to pray for discernment of the scriptures, man. That's a heavy, heavy thing. That's why the scriptures are written how they are. Because if you're not following the way that the Most High God tells us to understand and read it, you won't get it. Like the brother was doing. I done read the Bible so many times, but brother, you still didn't understand not one thing we were saying unless we broke it down to you, brother. So that's a spirit that the Most High God has put out there when you read the book of Ezekiel, covering the tree of life. Meaning you just not going to read this and not follow the ways that the Most High God commanded you to use in order to get the understanding. No. Book of Hebrews chapter 4 and verse. This is the book of Hebrews chapter 4 and verse 12, and it reads, for the word of God is quick and powerful and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the dividing asunder of soul and spirit and of the joints and marrows, and is a discerner of the thoughts and intents of the heart. So once you start to keep the commandments, have faith in the Most High, listen to the counsel of the Most High, have yourself in order, the Most High God starts to do what? Give you discernment of the scriptures. So you can be able to compare spiritual things with spiritual things, or seeing if this is carnal in this one aspect and spiritual in another aspect. It's things in the scriptures that are literal and spiritual at the same time. And there's also things in the scriptures that are just spiritual. And it's things that are what? That are literal as well. When we read the book of Revelation, chapter 12, verse 3, that is spiritual. We don't see a seven-headed dragon roaming the earth. That dragon is a similitude in a parable comparing it to a nation of wicked men that are ferocious, that destroy and burn down everything that they touch. Then is literal things that are in the scriptures, like Christ doing his miracles. Those are literal. And some of those things are both literal and spiritual as well. When he fed the 5,000, those things are literal and spiritual implications to them. But that's what brothers must pray for when it comes to the understanding of the scriptures. There's no way around that. This is the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse number 10, and it reads, "But God had revealed them unto us by his Spirit. For the Spirit searcheth all things, yea, the deep things of God." So we see that it's very deep things within the scriptures of the Most High. The Most High God, by you keeping the commandments and having faith in Christ, he gives you some of that spirit to be able to understand the deep things that are going into his word. Like we say, going into the 12 feathers, going into, like we say, 7 thunders, deep things in the scriptures. Ezekiel chapter 47, the Song of Moses, Revelations chapter 12, chapter 13, chapter 18, Mystery of Babylon, going into the book of Daniel. Many, many deep things that are in the Bible. Even in 2nd Ezra, where Ezra was dealing with the archangel Uriel, it was revealed unto him deep, deep things. Let me jump down. Verse 12. Now we have received not the spirit of the world, but the Spirit which is of God, that we might know the things that are freely given to us of God. Verse 13 is the point. Which things also we speak, not in the words which man's wisdom teacheth, but which the Holy Ghost teacheth, comparing spiritual things with spiritual things. So it's a heavy, heavy thing for brothers to pray, brothers and sisters, to pray for discernment. What things are literal? What things are spiritual? What is a deeper meaning? Like how we go through Paul's letters. Paul's letters is going into the deep things or the meat of the scriptures. Yeah, Khan, that's another book that they keep wanting to talk about, the Gilgamesh epics. And that's just the plagiarization of the flood during the time of Noah. Brother Mosa, are there any precepts about Gilgamesh cap? Would you put? No, not really, not per se. We just kind of use that in the book of Ecclesiastes, where it tells you about making many books. There is no end. So that's one that you could always use. This is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12 and verse 12, and it reads, "And further, by these, my son, be admonished of making many books. There is no end. And much study," meaning a much study of those books, "is a weariness of the flesh." Because those things have absolutely nothing to do with the scriptures. Nothing at all. Here's another. It's the book of Sirach, chapter 19, verse 22, and it reads, "The knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom, neither at any time the counsel of sinners prudence." So why would you take counsel from a brother that that's not keeping the commandments? That's not prudence. Prudence is things that you can look forward towards the future. You're taking nothing from a sinner, because they don't know what they're talking about. Because if they were wise, they would be wise to do what? Keep the commandments of the Most High. Abraham says, "Shalom, King, all praises to the Most High. Where's the sanctuary?" What you mean by that? What you mean, where's the sanctuary? Abram 16T. It says, "I heard a pastor say that our forefathers didn't know that they were going to be writing for us to learn from." Yeah, They don't understand the scriptures, because the thing is, they teach, when you go to theology school or cemetery school, they teach you not to interject yourself into the text. Now, God has a chosen people out here. That book was written to his chosen people. So if you know that you're one of God's chosen people, how can you not interject yourself into the book when the book is talking about you? That's how they constantly think of ways to do what? Disconnect us from the Bible, which makes absolutely no sense at all. That's why they say spiritual Israel, because all they trying to do is just disconnect us from the Bible. That's it. And they have done a wonderful job, man. Come, Brother Moses put in there 1 Kings chapter 3, verse 9 through 12. Great precept. One to Solomon, praying for discernment. Great precept. 12 jump 21. Come. Job, we brought that out earlier. Job 11 and 6. They are double to that which is. Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 11. Come. Daniel 12 and 4. But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. And we know that that's these last days, because the Bible is being unlocked. The seals are being unlocked. Right now, we're in the what? We're in the fifth seal, ready to go to the sixth. We right there on the tipping scale, man. Right there. Says Octal, I had gotten rid of out of the truck, so I'm not sure if Cat was talking to you or someone about it. Yeah, no. We was talking about just overall. That's a great precept. Another great precept, Deuteronomy 29:29. The secret things belong unto the Lord our God, but those things which are revealed belong unto us and to our children forever, that we may do all the words of this law. That's plain. Great precept. That's right. O Father, Lord of heaven and earth, because thou hast hid these things from the wise and prudent. When it talks about the wise and prudent, it's talking about the wise and prudent of this world, meaning your scholars, meaning your intellectuals, your philosophers. They don't understand the Bible. So the Most High God was using lowly men, people that they don't think that got the understanding. That's how you know it is of the Most High. People that have never been to college, people that probably didn't graduate from high school, thugs, drug dealers that done turned their lives around, that are repentant and came back to keeping the Most High. Most High God is giving them deep things of the Bible, and they're able to break these things down. And scholars look at us like with awe. That's how you know it's of the power of the Most High. And that's why the Most High God used the lowly, to make himself be exalted, man. And all praises to that thing, man. Proverbs 18 and 1, through desire a man having separated himself, seek it and intermeddle it with all wisdom, man. That's one of my favorite precepts. I got to make sure y'all precept that thing with that Sirach chapter 19, verse 22. Officer Dunn put in our second Ezra chapter 12, verse 37. Therefore, write all these things that thou hast seen in a book, and hide them, and teach them to the wise of the people, whose hearts that thou knowest may comprehend and keep these secrets, man. Great precepts, man. Trilly says, hello, can you ask your wife about the eczema tips for you? Oh, yeah, I will, sis. I know she's in there laying down, because I know she'll take her test later on. So I most definitely remember that, and you can just reach out, sis. But yeah, brother putting great precepts up in the chat, man. Any more questions, man? No, we ain't got no brother Christians or sister Christians out here. Oh, no, you all right. Oh, sis. But that's what's popping up on the screen, sis. So I'm gonna have to use what Sister Adiva was saying. I don't know how to change it right now. Sister Jenna. No, you all right, sis. Yeah, just probably give a call tomorrow. I know you've been seeing what's going on in the world. Yeah, for real. No Christians. They say we love our brothers and sisters, man. That's why we had this open line for them. That we may just at least have a conversation. At least a conversation. So, but no No Christians, man. Any brothers or sisters got any other questions out there, man? Or anything you kind of want to touch on right quick through the spirit? It says, is Revelations chapter 9 future prophecy, or did it happen already? Let's read that right quick. So remember, the book of Revelations go in and out of time. You know, it goes constantly in and out of time. It's given history, and it's also given what? Future prophecy. The book of Revelations chapter 9 is going into the fifth trumpet. So the book of Revelation chapter 9 and verse 1, and the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power. So particularly this was in the past, and it's also future as well. But mainly going into the past on how the Most High God basically raised up the spirit of Esau to teach their understanding, to bring about their power, their wisdom, their knowledge. Also going into World War I, World War II. It's comparing these things spiritually to the plagues in Egypt as well. Verse 4, and it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. So mainly going into the past, like we say in the 1400s, when the Most High God started to put that spirit of having Esau reclaim power in the earth, all the way up into this time, and even during the time in future prophecy going into Jacob's trouble. How do we know? Verse number 4, and it was commanded that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. Where do we read that from? Revelations. Jump back over. That's why we say Revelations goes in and out of time. In and out of time. And a lot of times to understand the book of Revelations, you have to have an overall understanding of the Bible. This is the book of Revelations, chapter 7 and verse 1. And after these things, I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, like that they should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. Meaning these angels were doing what? Holding back destruction. Verse 2, and I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels, to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea. Verse 3 is saying the same thing we literally just read in chapter 9, verse 4, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads. So we can see that that Revelations chapter 9 is going back in the past, and it's also going talking about future times. Even when you keep reading on down, how it goes into verse 13, and the 6th angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the 4 horns of the golden altar, which is before God. Let me jump up, Salakia. Verse 11, and they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon. One woe is past, meaning one world war is past. And behold, there come two wars more after that. So it's showing you that in the past and in the future, it was going to have what? One world war, 2 world wars, and ultimately 3 world wars. We know that 2 have passed, and the third one is on the brink. So yes, Revelation chapter 9 goes in and out of time. Zacol Manti says, why did Prophet Micaiah say he saw God on the throne conversing with the angels? How they killed. Well, the Most High God does what? He multiplies visions and gives similitudes. So the Most High God gives those visions. And remember, these were mighty men at that time. So the Most High God was dealing with these men on a high level. Even in these last days, the Most High God said that we would be having what? Dreams. So this is not a new thing in the earth. Let's go to the book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 28. It's the book of Joel, chapter 2 and verse 28, and it reads, and it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your old men shall dream dreams, your young men and shall see visions. So even during the time of Micaiah, Most High God was giving visions, and even in these last days, he's going to be doing what? Giving visions. So that's not a new phenomenon, not at all. Second Kings. Do brothers and sisters know the account that Ak is talking about? Let's go there right quick. This is the book of 1 Kings chapter 22 and verse 14, and it reads, and Micaiah said, as the Lord liveth, what the Lord saith unto me, that will I speak. So we know when it goes into Jehoshaphat, king of Israel, he didn't want Micaiah to come up because Micaiah was going to prophesy right things unto him, and one was going to tell him what he wanted to hear. He was going to tell him, thus saith the Lord. Jump down to verse 17. And he said, I saw all Israel scattered upon the hills as sheep that have not a shepherd. And the Lord said, these have no master. Let them return every man to his house in peace. And the king of Israel said unto Jehoshaphat, did not I tell thee that he would not prophesy no good concerning me, but evil? And he said, hear thou therefore the word of the Lord. I saw the Lord sitting on his throne, and all the host of heaven standing by him, on his right hand and on his left. Meaning the Most High God gave Micah a vision of him in the third heavens, with good angels on the right hand and bad angels on the left hand. And they're basically in a what? In a council on how he wants Ahab to die. Verse 19. Verse 20. And the Lord said, who shall persuade Ahab that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? So this is a counsel about how the Most High God wants Ahab to die. Because King Ahab was a wicked king, man. Married a heathen. Jezebel, she was ruling over him, running things. He was a wicked king of the northern tribe. Verse 20, and the Lord said, who shall persuade Ahab that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? And one said on this matter, and another said on that matter. So he has the angels giving ways on how King Ahab can be killed and die. One is giving an explanation. The Most High God, okay, let me hear what you got. Verse 21, and there came forth a spirit and stood before the Lord and said, I will persuade him. And the Lord said unto him, wherewith, meaning how? And he said, I will go forth and I will be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. So we know just by this angel line that we know that this was a what angel? A evil angel. So yes, the Most High God gave Micaiah a vision of him. I will be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. And he said, thou shalt persuade him and prevail also. Go forth and do so. So he had this angel doing what? Working on the minds of all of Ahab prophets to bring him eventually to his destruction. So yes, the Most High God deals with us. He gives us visions. It says not a particular verse. Yeah, just in general. Is it in the Old Testament where we can show that our people were scattered to Galatia, Ephesus? Well, yeah, when it says all, when it says all, that includes Galatia and Ephesus. Remember, we don't want to get too deep on those things. Just keep it simple. All includes Galatia, Ephesus, Scythia, barbarians. It includes all those things. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse number 64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people. When it says all, it literally means all. That's why we say even in the first where Brother Michael was saying all. Yes, all has a context, but that's where you have to use discernment to determine, like, is this some all or is this all? When it says all in this verse, that's literally what it means, all. So we were scattered in those places. So that's one that you can use. Also, Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 27, because it's reiterating the same thing over and over. Leviticus, it has the same verbiage throughout that's just a part of the curses. The book of Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 27, and it reads, and the Lord shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left few in number among the heathen, whether the Lord will lead thee. So, yeah, those are precepts that you can use. They are like a rash gets under your skin, That's what I was wondering. So, what did that star? Oh, remember, in the scriptures, stars can represent wisdom and understanding too. Let's go to the book of Matthew. That star in certain contexts can represent wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And we know in other aspects, it could be talking about a literal star, and in other aspects, it could be talking about a nuke. Let's go to the book of Daniel, chapter 12. This is the book of Daniel, chapter 12, and verse number 3, and it reads, and they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. So in the scripture, stars can be referred to as you gaining understanding, meaning you're shining bright with the understanding just like a star. So that's what that particular star represents. Most High God was giving them wisdom, knowledge, having them rise up with all different type of knowledge during the Renaissance era. I couldn't think of it, meaning rebirth of the white man back in power. So that's what that's going to in that specific context. It says, to my understanding, Paul basically taught majority of the time in Turkey and Greece, right? Remember Rome too. He went throughout Rome. But yes, mainly Turkey, Greece, and Rome. So with them world wars that never happened before, just wars with certain countries, and John the Revelator seen nation. Yes, I remember we already had 2 world wars. That's why understanding history is very important with the Bible as well. We done had a World War I and a World War II. Now we're on the brink of World War III. So the Most High God was giving John the Revelator the visions of those things. He's seen World War I, he's seen World War II, and he's seen visions of World War III. It says, is there a prophecy about 2 moons being in the sky? No, sis. There's no prophecy about 2 moons being in the sky. The Most High God tells us in the book of Genesis that he made 2 great lights, not 3. Not a sun and 2 moons. He just made the sun to rule the day and the moon to rule the night, and the stars. Yeah, I know what you meant, sis. Well, we would just say he saw a vision of the Most High. Remember, no man can see God and live. But that vision, similar to what we have in our dreams. When you have a dream, think about it. You can't see that dream clearly, but you can kind of picture what is there. Like, hey, I know this person that kind of looked like my son, but do you know in full detail? Like, can you see his nose? I mean, the structure of his nose, the color of their eyes? No, but you can kind of figure out to a certain degree what you saw, what the dream was kind of about. So that's the point of a vision. You can see enough of the vision. Cap, is Amos 3 and 6 a good precept for Isaiah 4 and yeah, how he create darkness and light come out? This is the book of Amos, chapter 3, verse 6, and it reads, shall a trumpet be blown in the city, and the people not be afraid? Shall there be evil in a city, and the Lord had not done it? That is the precept, showing that when evil is done in the city, the Most High God has commanded that evil. Similar to what we just read in the book of 1 Kings, chapter 22, where he's up there counseling with the angels on who lives and who dies. It was the same way with Job. How he said that the angels or Satan would allow his demons to do what jack Job up, but he couldn't kill him. He could just cause all type of hell on him. Like I said, wicked simp energy. That's right. Perfect precept for that. Isaiah chapter 11 and verse 12. We was going in through this after class, and he says, set up an enzyme for the nations, and shall assemble the outcast of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. Another great precept showing how we were scattered. Deuteronomy 28:25. The Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them, and flee 7 ways before them, and shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. That's a great precept. Shalom, shalom, Brother Paul. Shalom. Khan, Daniel as well. Shalom, Brother Samuel. Great precept. Brothers need to write them precepts down, man. It says, well, the Roman Empire was over those 2 landmasses, is what it said, I believe, when I was doing the research. What you mean, Ak? I didn't fill me in. I don't know what you're talking about on that. Are you talking about over Ephesus? And yeah, they were over that. Remember, they were the ruling kingdom at that time. So yes, they was over those particular areas. Rome had a great empire, and they was trying to increase their empire. So yeah, they was over those particular areas: Ephesus, Turkey, and certain parts over Israel as well. Eventually, till they came and took over the whole thing in 70 A.D. So yeah, says Khan, all praises. Was just confused on that. Thanks for clearing it up, Khan. Copy that, Cap, all praises. Isaiah 45, I form the light, create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. Great precept. Yeah, Turkey and Greece, yes. Rome ruled over all that. Rome had a big empire at that time. Khan, Deuteronomy 32:39 is another one that you could put with that as well, man. Many precepts showing how the Most High God kills and make alive. So yeah, Rome had a big empire. Yeah, they had a very big empire, man. Let's check this out. So yeah, when we look at it, I hope brothers and sisters can see that. They look at the empire. This is at the height. They control Spain. They controlled all those things over there from Spain all the way over to Turkey. That they control basically what we know today as the outer parts of the Mediterranean Sea. Put a 1 in the chat if brothers and sisters can see that clearly. So think about it. They was overall Turkey, overall Greece, overall Rome, overall Spain. They was overall Israel, overall Egypt, and that top part of Africa. So yes, they controlled all that. That's why, like we say, even during Paul's ministry, he had to get permission to be able to go throughout these particular ways. Ultimately, why the Most High God was using him because he had access to these particular countries. Remember, he was born in Tarshish. Tarshish is in Turkey. Then he was a what? A Roman citizen when you read in the book of Acts. Let's get that right quick. So Paul had access to these particular places, man, which made him vital for this truth, man. This is the book of Acts, chapter 21 and verse number 39, and it reads, "But Paul said, I am a man which am a Jew of Tarshish, a city in Cilicia, Turkey, a citizen of no mean city. I beseech thee, suffer me to speak unto the people." So he's telling you that he is a Jew, but he was of Tarshish. Tarshish today is modern day Turkey. A city in Cilicia. He's telling you plainly. And Paul also was a what? A Roman citizen. Let's jump over the book of Acts, chapter 22 and verse 26, and it reads, verse 25, "And as they bound him with thongs, Paul said unto the centurion that stood by, Is it lawful for you to scourge a man that is a Roman and uncondemned? When the centurion heard that, he went and told the chief captain, saying, Take heed what thou doest, for this man is a Roman." Does that mean that he was ethnically a Roman? No, that means that Paul had Roman citizenship, but he was also a man of Tarshish, but his nationality was a Jew from the tribe of Benjamin. But yes, during the height, Rome controlled all this. Acts chapter 28, verse 16, "And when they were come to Rome, the centurion delivered the prisoners to the captain of the guard. But Paul was suffered to dwell by himself with a soldier that kept to him." I said I was just finna say that, So yes, he had access throughout all these particular places. That's why America is an extension of Rome, because to be able to go throughout these different places, you had to have credentials, or what they would call today passports. Now they just want to letting people get access. We see that America that took those same traditions. They had to know who you were, whether you were for Rome or, trying to go against it. Any other questions, brothers and sisters, man? I know we almost reaching that 2-hour mark. About to get up out of here. Any more questions before we get up out of here? Yeah, same here, Brother Lamar. Yeah, that was a huge empire. Even like America, man, they influence stretches over the whole earth with much wickedness, man. Let's get that, man. The book of Second Ezra. They following the same things that they people before them did. This is the book of Second Ezra, chapter 11 and verse 40, and it reads, "And the fourth came and overcame all the beasts that were past, and had power over the world with great fearfulness, over the whole compass of the earth with much oppression. And so long time dwelt he upon the earth with deceit." This is going into the Roman captivity, but it's also going into what? America, because America is an extension of Rome. "For the earth hast thou not judged with truth, for thou hast afflicted the meek, and thou hast hurt the peaceable. Thou hast loved liars, and destroyed the dwellings of them that brought forth fruit, and it cast down the walls of such as did thee no harm. Think about the so-called Native Americans, which is the tribe of Gad, how they brought the so-called pilgrims fruit, and they did them no harm, man. Think about it, man. This thing is touching over this. It's some heavy stuff. Therefore is thy wrongful dealing come up unto the highest, and thy pride unto the mighty. The highest also had looked upon the proud times, and behold, they are ended, and his abominations are fulfilled. And therefore appear no more thou eagle, nor thy horrible wings. We know that the symbol of Rome is the eagle. Guess what? The symbol of America is the eagle. It says they are ended, and his abominations are fulfilled. And therefore appear no more thou eagle, nor thy horrible wings, nor thy wicked feathers, nor thy malicious heads, nor thy hurtful claws, nor all thy vain body. And it's a key word in there, nor thy hurtful heads. Because what? They're manifold. That's why people just looking for just wrong. No, it's also going into America too, because all these Edomite empire symbol is the eagle. They're the same people, man. It says, so basically, after each captivity, it get larger in land mass that each one takes over as time progresses. Now, you can say that because remember, they're just taking the land of the predecessors that ruled before. So to a degree, you can say that. First Maccabees 1:4, and he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries and nations and kings who became tributaries unto him. That's a great precept. Second Maccabees 4:10, which when the king had granted, and he had gotten into his hand the rule for what brought his own nation to Greekish fashions. So yes, that's a great point, man. Great precepts to kind of add on. Verse 46, that all the earth may be refreshed and may return, being delivered from thy violence, that she may hope for the judgment and mercy of him that made her. So yes, Rome is an extension. America is an extension of Rome. Yeah, those heads was those three major empires come: Greek, Rome, and America. Yeah, Khan. Greece started it. Romans had it during their middle times of power, and America is the end of it. So Khan, man. But with that, man, we give all honor and praises to the Most High. Pray that brothers and sisters was edified. Pray that that I answer questions through the Spirit of the Most High adequately. Oh yeah, Khan. I know what you was asking. I remember we touched on that class with the 12 Caesars, the 12 feathers, basically. So yeah, Khan. But I pray that brothers and sisters stay in the spirit. Make sure that brothers and sisters that need counsel seek out, man, counsel. Make sure that you're applying the commandments, and make sure that brothers and sisters are not being of the world. Remember, we have new moon tomorrow. New moon tomorrow. Sundown to sundown. Monday sundown going into what? Tuesday sundown. No buying, no selling. Says, so Deuteronomy 28:23 is going into captivity after captivity. And could you precept it with the statue in Daniel? (28 and 23). This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 23, and it reads, and thy heaven that is over thy head shall be brass, and the earth that is under thee shall be iron. What? Yeah, it's just us going into captivity, but we know that it did continue captivity after captivity. But this is 23 is just basically showing how we was going to have hard captivities. Remember, the Most High God made this earth for our sakes to be what? Fruitful, for us to multiply, for us to be soft and fertile. The opposite of that is hard, meaning that it wasn't going to yield to us. That our time on this planet Earth was going to be a hard time. So that's in direct context to that. I see how you saying it. I wouldn't. I see where you're going. I understand. I kind of meditate on that because I kind of see where you're going, but we just want to keep it in this specific context. We understand that things are double, but for brothers and sisters that don't know, when you go into the book of Daniel, chapter 2, Daniel was given the interpretation of this Nebuchadnezzar statue on how it was made up of different metals. That is a good point. I sure would take that in consideration. So we know that the head of gold, the chest was made of silver. We know the torso was made of bronze. And remember, these particular metals were symbolizing nations in their time to rule. The gold represents the rule of the Babylonian captivity. The chest of silver represents the Persian and Medo. The bronze represented Greece. And then we know the legs of iron represented Rome. And then going into those 10 toes, going into eventually the 10 common markets, which America springs out of. So I understand what you're saying now. That I'm gonna tell you that's on a deeper level, but I totally understand the point of that. So I mean, you can say that, and that is a very good point. So I'm gonna read that again. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 23. And thy heaven that is over thy head shall be brass, and the earth that is under thee shall be iron. Because we know those nations that came into power, they did represent brass and iron. So, that's a great point, Khan. And Bruce can kind of mark that with that Daniel chapter 2 Khan on that. But with that, man, we give our honor to the Most High and to his son Yahushua. We always tell brothers and sisters to keep the laws, statutes, and commandments. So this is one that we always want to bring out. Let me go to the book of Exodus, chapter 22 and verse 16. This is the book of Exodus, chapter 22 and verse number 16, and it reads, And if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed, and he lie with her, he shall surely endow her to be his wife. Meaning, if brothers and sisters are dealing with a sister and y'all have sex, according to the law, you are commanded to eventually take that sister to be your wife. There's no jump offs in Israel. We want to make sure that we're abstaining from those lustful spirits and just do it the way that the Most High God commanded us so that things can just go smoothly, man. We want brothers and sisters to kind of meditate on those things for brothers that deal with that and for sisters that deal with that as well, man. Because the Most High God made us to marry one another, but we just want to make sure that we do those things according to his laws. And with that, say shalom, giving all honor and praise to the Most High. Kwam Yasharal.